Jane and Darren's Big Backyard for Bunnings Warehouse, where lowest prices are just the beginning, and Backer Design, celebrating 40 years of Norwegian stressless recliners.
21 after 9 in the Big Backyard. I'm Steve Murphy. Jane Edmondson is here, as is our special guest, Geoff Cochrane from Blue Lotus Water Garden, who is in situ, as it were. Geoff, good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Jane.
Thanks for coming in, Geoff. You've come a long way, because the Blue Lotus Water Garden is out past Coldstream.
It's actually past Lilydale.
I'm sorry, it is too.
On
Yes.
the Warburton Highway.
On the I said it early on, then I thought to myself, no, it's Warburton Highway. Yeah,
it's about an hour and 10 minutes from the CBD.
Yeah, well, it's very good of you to come in, because when I visited you last year, there were many, many people walking around, having guided tours. It is a place that people are astounded by. And you've got a good history to tell us, because you used to do something totally different, not just grow lotuses.
Yes, as I was just mentioning before, Jane, originally I was a vegetable grower. I used to grow Chinese cabbage, the hard-hearting Chinese cabbage, the Wong Bok Chinese cabbage. I grew them for about 35 years. In fact, we used to grow them on the property where the water garden is now. And our main lake on the water garden was actually an irrigation dam. As our area, the Yarra Valley, became more of a tourist area, I got the bright idea that maybe we could have a fly fishing venture there.
Ah, yeah.
So we set the irrigation dam up with bridges along it, flat bridges to fly fish off, and we put trout in and we put other fish in. That didn't work. The cormorants, they enjoyed the trout. The water gets a bit warm for trout. But I planted a few water lilies originally, just to make the dam look nicer. And I noticed how long they flower for, and they flower for 4 or 5 months. So then I sourced a few lotus plants, which I knew nothing about. I thought they were a tropical plant, but I managed to get some and I planted them, and lo and behold, they just took off. And similar to the water lilies, they flower for 4 or 5 months too. So then I got the idea, well, the trout fishing's not going to work, but I could have a display garden of these flowers. They have a very even flowering season. It's not just a flush of flowers like a lot of other perennial flowers. They flower evenly over the time we're open, so they lend themselves to a display garden. So I just stumbled across it.
I love that. I love that kind of story where you've had a very different sort of style of growing plants still in your blood, but it's a totally different plant.
Well, see, who would have thought? Chinese lettuce.
Chinese cabbage, yeah.
To Chinese cabbage, to trout.
Yes.
To Lotus garden. And there you go. But you see, what's encouraging about that, though, is that a lot of people who are successful and in the public domain will stand up and try to convince everybody that it was all part of a grand, long-term, strategic 5-year plan and all of those sorts of things. You think, oh, isn't that really clever? When, in fact, in a lot of cases, it is, as you describe, you make the best out of a bad lot and move on to something else, and you end up with the magnificent Lotus Water Garden.
Yes, and it was a chance to get out of vegetable growing, I must admit. That had become a little boring after 35 years.
Well, this is not boring what you've got now, because you've got about 5 or 6 huge ponds with different types of water lilies, water plants in them.
We've got 2 main lakes. One lake's about 250 metres long. It's got 11 or 12 islands down the middle, and it's got bridges all the way along between those islands. So you can walk the full length and you could admire the lotus and water lilies close up. Often the lotus are growing through the railing of the bridge, so you can get to smell them very close up. We have another main lake, which is our source of water, and it's also a main production lake for the lotus seed pod. Now, the lotus seed pod, which forms, of course, after the flower finishes, we harvest those and we sell them to the florist trade.
Oh, that's weird, because they're woody. They're sort of they're on a long stem, and these sort of woody-looking capsules, aren't they?
Yes, and they're much sought after by the florist trade. So during our summer season, we supply those around Australia to the flower trade. So that's another one of our main lakes, and then I've got dozens, if not 100 or more, small ponds landscaped round the 14 acres with various types of lotus and various water lilies. We've also got 4 display hothouses. Now, I heard you mention earlier the Amazon lily, which, by the way, I'm having a little bit of problem with this year. The Amazon lily comes out of the Amazon River system, so it's coming out of a tropical country. It's a full tropical plant. To grow it here, you've got to have it in warm conditions, and you've got to grow it from seed each year. And it's very tricky to grow from seed and get it going. I've had a little bit of trouble getting it going. I've got it going now. It's got small leaves on it, but it'll probably be another couple of weeks before we get the large leaves on it.
Those large leaves are they're like, when you say like a metre wide, they are a metre wide. And they're just sitting on the top, they're floating on the top of the surface. Extraordinary things.
Yes, they're unique.
Yeah.
They can support the weight of a baby or a smaller person.
Those Angedi photos, you see 2 little twins sitting on the,
Yes, absolutely. I mean, now's your busiest time of the year, isn't it? Effectively December, or the end of December through to roughly the end of March.
Yes, we're open from Boxing Day till the end of March. So we're open when the full range of flowers are out. We only open when there's a good display of flowers, so we're closed the rest of the year.
Because when I went the day, you could spend a day, I took my camera and I just had a ball taking photos of all the different stages in particular of the lotus. Geoff, tell people about the lotus, because people might think, oh, that is a tropical plant, too hard for me to grow, but it's not.
No, the lotus, as I mentioned earlier, I think most Australians think the lotus is a tropical plant. We've seen them growing up in northern Australia. We've seen them growing through tropical Southeast Asia. We've holidayed there. In actual fact, most varieties of lotus come out of China, middle China, or even northern China. The largest areas of lotus in China, I've read, are in the north of China, where it's 45 degrees north.
And it gets very cold.
It gets very cold in the winter, but they are a perennial plant in the colder regions like here. So they're dormant in the winter. It doesn't matter how cold the winter gets. As long as you've got warm, sunny summers, the lotus will grow. The lotus will grow in Tasmania. We're sending lotus to Tasmania. People are having success with them. Yep. Now, they also, as I mentioned earlier, Joan, they make a marvellous cut flower. I've bought some flowers in here for Jane. We pick them as a coloured bud with them just starting to open or just before they open.
The bud is actually huge, isn't it? Like it's the size
of your fist, a little bigger.
Yeah, a tennis ball even,
You can then put them in a vase and use them as a coloured bud. You can take the first layer of petals off if you like. It makes them a bit more coloured. Then as they start to open, you can see one there that's starting to open up, Jane. You get a very large flower. You can actually snip that off, snip the stem off, and put that flower down in a low bowl and float it as a floating flower. And you'll get another 3 or 4 days out of it that way. So use them as a coloured bud in a long stem vase, then snip them, put them in a low bowl. They make a marvellous cut flower.
Fantastic.
Isn't that fabulous?
People might be interested in with their own water gardens in asking Geoff about water lilies, lotuses, all sorts of things.
Absolutely. 96 900 693 if you'd like to join us. Geoff Cochrane from the Blue Lotus Water Garden is our special guest this morning. And, of course, the Blue Lotus Water Garden is open from 26 December through to the 21st of March. Now, is it right that it can take like an hour and a half, couple of hours to actually walk the garden?
Look, most people would spend at least an hour walking around the garden. Some people come and stay the whole day. Yeah. We've got a lot of seating around the garden where you can sit and admire the flowers, get out of the hot sun if it's a hot day. Yes, people spend... It takes a while to get around the full extent of it, yes.
Lots to see.
Well, that's because there's lots to see, and that's why it takes a while to get around, absolutely. 96 900 693 if you'd like to join us. Good morning, Bob.
Oh, good morning.
Morning, Bob.
Thank you for taking the call. Geoff, we were up there on Boxing Day and had a wonderful time and bought a water lily for our dam. I don't know, you probably won't remember, you probably see hundreds of people. We planted them in the dam with the flower about an inch or two above the water level, but it's slipped down. Now, the flower is sort of under the water. Is that a real problem for us?
No, Bob, that's the natural process. The water lilies, the flowers only last 3 or 4 days. Now, the one you purchased, it was probably already a couple of days old, the flower. You've just got to wait now till new flowers come up. Are the leaves floating on the top of the water from where you've planted it?
We now have 4 leaves floating, and we think we have a new flower.
Ah, there we go.
Well, there you go. You've just got to have a little bit of patience. Yes, each flower does not last a long time, but you're constantly getting new flowers coming up.
Oh, that's good. Thank you very much. It's beautiful. It's really lovely. I was just a bit worried that I planted it fairly deep because the water recedes from the dam, as you know, just with the natural drying out. And so we planted it sort of fairly deep, but then the next morning we came back and it sort of slipped down a bit, and I thought, oh, God, have we killed it? But anyway, we haven't, obviously.
And Geoff, does Bob have to feed these water lilies, or is it a water lily or a lotus?
It's a water
lily. So does he have to feed them? Or? Yeah.
As long as the dam's got rich, sludgy mud on the bottom, is it an older dam, Bob?
Yeah, no, it's been around a while.
Yeah, look, it'll probably be fine. It's probably quite unnecessary. You've got to be careful feeding them in a dam. Often you'll make them too leafy. There's generally enough nutrient in the bottom.
I'm sure there is. We've got a couple of tortoises. They won't attack it, will they?
Tortoises?
No, they should be fine.
There you go. Good on you, Bob. Well done. And glad you're enjoying your blue lily.
Yeah, absolutely.
From the Blue Lotus Water Garden, 96 900 693. Give us a call if you'd like to talk about lotuses or water lilies or anything else for that matter. 96 900 693. It's 27 to 10.